Welcome to today's channel breaking news. Operation by the US and Israel in Gaza. War is spreading all over the world. If you don't want to miss our team's videos about the latest news and special stories on the war in Israel, you can subscribe to our channel, like our videos, and click the super thanks button below. The bad news is that the war will go on. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that efforts would continue to make sure that the humanitarian pause in the Israel-Hamas war lasts for a while. The US minister said that there is no way to have a stable ceasefire. The Israel Defense Forces, with full backing from the Pentagon, have fully prepared the plan for the battle that will start when the ceasefire ends. The war started with a large-scale airstrike by the illegal militia group Hamas on the borders of Israel on the night of October 7th. As of last week, the governments of the US, Qatar and Egypt worked together to bring about a humanitarian pause in the conflict. The ceasefire talks between the two sides stopped the crisis in the Middle East for a while, leading to an understanding during the first part of the agreed-upon brief ceasefire. Both sides exchanged hostages, and on the one hand, a lot of humanitarian aid convoys came into Gaza. The US and other countries in the area worked hard to extend the humanitarian plan for December, which was originally intended to last for days, by 2 additional days, and then by 1 more day, as reported in the first news of the ceasefire from Doha, the capital of Qatar. These extensions resulted in the release and reunion of more prisoners with their families. Now all eyes are on US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's trip to the Middle East, which will start in Israel. Blinken told them the important choice the US was making about continuing the process while meeting with the Israeli war cabinet led by Israeli President Isaac Herzog. Blinken then met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Tel Aviv. In the news release, Blinken, personally greeted by President Herzog in Israel, discussed the positive impact of the temporary ceasefire and emphasized that Washington and the US minister are continuing their efforts to secure the release of more hostages. The director told the press that he thanked the White House and the US after consulting with Israeli President Herzog. President Joe Biden expressed gratitude to President Obama for his assistance in organizing the hostage exchange and highlighted research findings indicating that Hamas still held 150 Israeli hostages. And Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, met with Benjamin Netanyahu's Israeli war cabinet. There he talked with the Israeli war cabinet. In addition to meeting with Netanyahu, Blinken also met with Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, Israeli Deputy Prime Minister Benny Gantz, and Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid. In his opening speech at the meeting in West Jerusalem, Netanyahu thanked Blinken for the humanitarian, financial and military aid that the US gave to Israel during the war. The meeting started with Netanyahu in charge. At the end of his speech, he told Blinken about the policy and battle plan they would use if the ceasefire ended. The meeting went on for many hours while everyone talked about what the US government should do. The hostage swap and the sending of humanitarian goods to the Gaza Strip moved quickly after the meeting. A statement from the Palestinian Red Crescent says that during this time 21 trucks bringing humanitarian aid entered the Gaza Strip, mostly in the northern part. During the humanitarian pause, 254 food trucks arrived in the Gaza Strip, which went along with this statement. It was the officials in the area who brought the food, clothes and medical materials to the people who needed them. Hamas freed 10 Israeli hostages while Israel released 30 Palestinian prisoners. The International Committee of the Red Cross and US Secretary of State Antony Blinken were said to have received the prisoners. He told what everyone was expecting to hear about the decision made at a meeting with the Israeli war cabinet and how the US views the process now that the first week of the humanitarian crisis has ended. US Secretary of State Blinken said that the last day of hostage exchanges went smoothly with the help of Qatar, Egypt and the US. I came here today to help us reach a few of our goals. Our main goal is to make sure that the humanitarian pause lasts longer. Everyone can find hope in the happiness that the families felt after the hostage swap. However, the kidnapping situation is still not over. We're not going to stop until all of the hostages are back with their families who are waiting for them. Blinken said that the White House is still negotiating to make sure that the hostage exchanges keep going. He also talked about the aid convoys that are getting to Gaza during the brief ceasefire. The US minister said that the US will be directly helping to increase the number of these aid convoys. He also said that the Tel Aviv government agrees that these shipments of humanitarian aid will continue. Blinken recently added the Hamas planned attack in West Jerusalem to his list of things to do. He said there was an attack in Jerusalem in the morning. Hamas said they were behind the attacks and called the people who did them heroes. It is our job to stop all kinds of illegal actions and attempts that are against international law. Because of this, it is very important for the Israeli army to follow the rules of the international law of war. Once the fighting stops, the settlement should not be affected by the war and the Palestinians should be allowed to return to northern Gaza once the right conditions Ahmet Blink emphasized the need for making and sharing a clear war plan before initiating any new military action. He also said that the Israeli government agreed with these demands. Lincoln stated that the Israeli government had agreed with these demands and emphasized the urgency of taking concrete actions. IAL to Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, about the PA. Both the Israeli and Palestinian people's needs will be taken into account during the process. The Palestinians will get to choose who leads them. Antony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, went to the West Bank area of Palestine. This is his third trip to the Middle East since the war started. He had a meeting in Israel and then met with Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority. During his talk with Blinken, Abbas said that the most important thing was to get a permanent ceasefire in Gaza and that the Israeli Defense Forces had used too much force. Abbas emphasized the need for the continuation of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip after the ceasefire. He also said that they want the Israel military to stop being aggressive after the humanitarian pause. During the meeting, Mahmoud Abbas gave us Secretary of State Blinken a large file that said the Israel Defense Forces had broken international law of war in the West Bank. The file revealed that the Palestinians who were freed during the hostage swap had endured terrible conditions for many years due to the calm situation. Palestinian President Abbas advocated for the administration of Gaza by the Palestinian state. He did not want to force the Palestinian people to leave the Gaza Strip or the West Bank. Abbas emphasized that accepting the a two-state option recognized by the international community is crucial for maintaining peace in the area. He said that the Gaza Strip is an important part of the Palestinian state. Abbas stated in his speech that the rest of the world should accept the independent Palestinian state, which includes East Jerusalem and the Gaza Strip. This made everyone pay attention to the White House. In order to explain the White House's choice in the last few hours of the humanitarian stop, John Kirby, who is the Strategic Communications Coordinator for the U.S. National Security Council, first talked about the October 7th attacks. Kirby said that the Tel Aviv government has made it very clear that they plan to attack again when the humanitarian pause ends. He also said that the U.S. will continue to provide military support to Israel in its war against Hamas, an illegal paramilitary group that is aiming for Israel's borders. As the United States makes this choice, we will continue to back Israel by giving them the tools and skills they need, as well as weapon systems and the advice and ideas we have about how to fight in cities. Kirby also announced the decision on the humanitarian pause. He stressed that the U.S. would change its position if the Israeli army's new attack plan for the southern Gaza Strip went in a way that was against the international law of war. Kirby said that they want to end the hostage situation by making sure that the week-long humanitarian pause doesn't end, but in reaction they don't want a permanent ceasefire, so the fight against Hamas, an illegal paramilitary group, will go on. After the US government made negative comments, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also talked about the plan of the Israeli war cabinet when asked if the Israeli military would continue the war if the hostage swap ended. Netanyahu said, "Our answer is absolutely yes. We have no choice but to keep fighting until the end. The rest of the cabinet agrees with this strategy, which is my own. The Israeli government and the army made this choice. Our people made this choice. We will also follow through with this choice." Netanyahu said in Gaza that their goal is to get rid of Hamas because it has become a major threat to both Israelis and Palestinians. He also said that they will keep fighting until they reach a final agreement. Netanyahu said, "From the start of the war I set 3 goals: to get rid of Hamas, get all of our hostages back, and make sure that Gaza will never again be a threat to the state of Israel. These 3 are still there." One of the most important people in the Israeli war cabinet, Benny Gantz, said that the fighting could spread to a much larger area after the brief ceasefire ended. He told people to leave the area as soon as possible, but in a short amount of time. Both the Tel Aviv and Washington government's responses to the war going and kept getting worse. When the UN Security Council met at its main building in New York City, USA, it called for a lasting end to the fighting once more. In his opening remarks, Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the UN, said that the ongoing war since October 7th has caused serious chaos in the region. He also talked about the continuation of the humanitarian pause and how important it is to create a lasting peace environment. During the process, UN Secretary General Guterres said that the humanitarian pause was a sign of hope for everyone, but especially for Gaza. He also said that both sides needed to follow international law since Gaza is not safe right now. The UN official also gave a harsh warning about the facilities in the Gaza Strip. The official emphasized the facilities set up under the UN flag for people living in the area would not be violated. Guterres said all prisoners must be freed immediately and unconditionally. As I have stated from the beginning, they should let the international Committee of the Red Cross Come See Them Gutierrez emphasized the urgent need to increase the number of humanitarian aid convoys going to Gaza on a regular basis. He said this because the Rafah border crossing, which is the only place where these shipments happen, is not big enough to end the crisis. The head of the World Health Organization, Tedros Ghebreyesus, warned that the war in Gaza could lead to an epidemic of diseases and asked everyone involved to make sure that the peace lasts. The head of the World Health Organization said that only 15 hospitals in Gaza can currently provide basic medical care. He also said that the people of Gaza have much greater health needs than before, but only a third of hospitals and primary care centers can meet those needs. Migration also increases the risk of an outbreak, which can be caused by various diseases. The head of the World Health Organization urged all countries not to take this risk. Will people with power do everything they can to stop it? I want to stop, keep the pause going, or finally reach a ceasefire and solve this problem politically. It's possible, but powerful people don't act this way, as you may know. After the World Health Organization's warning, all eyes were once again on the Turkish government. Since the war started, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has made many laws that are against Israel. He caused a lot of trouble between Turkey and Israel when he said that the Israeli army used too much force in Gaza and that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was the only one to blame. This week, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan's comments showed that the Ankara government has not changed. During a news conference, Turkish Foreign Minister Fidan talked about his meetings with members of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and the Gaza Contact Group. We need to stop fighting right away. We need urgent help for people in need. On the other hand, we should start working on the two-state solution right away to solve the problem. Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said Israel has been ignoring the world's criticism for years, saying that the Israeli government has been guilty of crimes while trying to solve the crisis in Gaza. Now is the time to do something real. When these negative comments came from Turkey, President Joe Biden warned against them. Turkey is a very negative member of NATO because of its position and military power. President Joe Biden told the Ankara government not to support Hamas and Russia, which are known for doing illegal things. He also threatened to put sanctions on many companies in Turkey if they did not do what was expected of them. Even though the US reacted badly to Turkey, Joseph Borrell, the head of foreign policy for the European Union, said we are ready to start a peace process with Turkey in the Middle East. This is an important step toward ending almost all conflicts. When this kind of statement from the European Union came out, Turkey's offer to become a guaranteed country for a lasting ceasefire came to mind again. Though Turkey isn't the only NATO country that doesn't agree with the US, Spain and Belgium also said that the problem in Gaza can be fixed without war by a permanent ceasefire, and they asked for any two-state agreement to be reached. In a recent speech, Pedro Sanchez, the Spanish foreign minister, said that what is happening in Gaza is wrong and that it would be good for both Europe and the Middle East if Gaza became part of an independent Palestinian state. Sanchez said that Spain is still working to get the Palestinian state recognized. He also said that Madrid could make a move on its own if the EU doesn't agree. First Spain and then Belgium asked for the recognition of a Palestinian state that includes Gaza as independent. The Israeli government saw this as support for Hamas, so they chose to recall their ambassadors from Spain and Belgium. The foreign minister of Spain said that he and the government agree that Hamas is an illegal paramilitary group. However, he denied Tel Aviv's charges against Madrid and said that linking the Palestinian people directly to Hamas is a very bad idea because of recent events that have made things very tense between Israel and the West. Everyone is waiting to see what Netanyahu calls for. Will the Israeli government, backed by the US despite repeated warnings against going to war, change its mind now that they are ready? The vessels of the Chinese Navy are moving toward the eastern Mediterranean since Iran has been acting against Israel lately. The war has become much more complicated by standing together to support Palestine. Arab and Muslim countries have pushed Israel to the brink of collapse. Iran, China and Turkey's decisions directly caused the violence of the war. Following their harsh response to Israel, the countries that acted then urged other Muslim states to attack Israel by saying they would send the Chinese navies that were harsh on Israel to support Palestine. The new US in the Middle East made its claims public after the Israeli-Palestinian war began. Israel got into a very bad fight with Hamas. The US and many other Western countries sent messages of support for Israel. The US government also sent 2 aircraft carriers and a lot of weapons and ammunition to help Israel, which changed the whole balance of the war. Recently, it has been argued that this backing for Israel has become less useful than before. Turkey has a strategy of staying out of the war between Israel and Palestine, but after Israel's airstrikes on Gaza, which caused people to disagree, Turkey was very harsh on Israel. But even though Turkey is a member of NATO, it is anti-US stance and announcement that it will send humanitarian aid to help people in Palestine have also prompted many other countries to act in response to the attacks carried out by Israel. Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed his support for Palestine during the 1967 conflict and his commitment to supporting the establishment of an independent Palestinian state. This statement is consistent with declarations that Putin has made in the past during similar situations. Although Iran and Israel have been at war for a considerable amount of time over who possesses the most power, Iran has stated that the strikes carried out by Hamas were truly an act of self-defense against Israel. This statement is in agreement with what Russia has stated. Furthermore, they claim that Israel's influence and authority in the region, primarily upheld by the United States, had gradually diminished over time. In this particular stage of the conflict, the Chinese government, which was the very last nation to join the conflict, shifted the balances in their favor. The Chinese government's decision significantly impacted the plans made by individuals worldwide. In light of the fact that the conflict between Israel and Hamas had slowed down, he issued a statement in which he announced that he would dispatch 6 Navy boats to the eastern Mediterranean region as a precautionary measure. The Chinese government retaliated to the United States' decision to support Israel in this conflict by dispatching warships to provide assistance to Palestine in order to challenge the hegemony of the United States in the Middle East and to restore the balance of authority and dominance. They did this. The United States' attempt to maintain a balance of power in the Middle East during the war heightened tensions even more so due to the fact that President Joe Biden of the United States of America has always made statements in response to the change in decision. The Chinese government transformed the crisis into an opportunity by acting on politician statements. Many people are perplexed as to why China would want to support Palestine, given that the conflict took place far from China's borders and has no direct connection to China. The Chinese government has reportedly been receiving a significant amount of money from the oil deals that the United States has made in the Middle East for a considerable amount of time. As stated by numerous accusations and comments, it is due to China's strategy of opposing Israel and its backing for Palestine that this is the case. Nevertheless, there are a lot of people who feel that the Chinese government is supporting Palestine against Israel in order to further its own interests as the war continues by taking advantage of the agreements that the United States and the Middle East have signed. In real action, a number of Arab and Muslim nations took the side of Palestine against the United States of America and Israel. The majority of Arab and Muslim nations interpreted this as a step in the right direction for China to move forward with its plans in the Middle East. He made the decision to collaborate with Russia on this matter after attending the international conference in Beijing, China. He did this by dispatching a representative to the Middle East. The meeting between the representative for the Middle East in Africa of Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Chinese ambassador Jie Jun was a highly significant one. Next, he had a meeting with the Qatari Minister of Foreign Affairs. After returning from his trip, the Chinese delegate held a news conference in which he stated that the Chinese government will be keeping a close eye on the war and working with other nations to put a stop to the violent struggle that is taking place between Israel and Palestine. China and Russia will almost certainly take action to put an end to the domination of the United States following the announcement made by the Kremlin on the same day by entering into agreements with other nations in order to form alliances. The United States has been able to generate revenue in the Middle East for many years. The United States of America, on the other hand, has no intention of relinquishing the power it has acquired as the most powerful nation in the Middle East. Immediately after the discussions and declarations, the things that war analysts said on international television had a significant impact on the agendas of all countries across the world. A significant number of individuals who are experts in the field of military believe that Israel will be at a significant disadvantage in the confrontation if China and Russia do not personally intervene. According to them, this is due to the fact that organizations in the combat zones such as Hamas and Hezbollah receive military supplies and support from firms. This indicates that China and Russia are indirectly backing the war. Additionally, experts indicated that the United States might seriously disrupt the trade deals and balance of power plan it has been constructing in the Middle East for a considerable amount of time. On the other hand, there were proposals that Israel, along with Muslim and Arab states, should work together to put an end to the strikes on Palestine and launch a ground operation against Israel. As a result, the Israeli government has instructed officials at the Pentagon to delay any operations or activities until a second meeting is arranged. This will give them the opportunity to plan and carry out a ground Operation in the Gaza Strip. Despite the cancellation of the ground assault, the Israeli army continues to take considerable measures and arrange weapon shipments in the region. In addition, they are increasing the number of security personnel stationed along the border in order to prevent Hamas and Hezbollah from launching attacks from the air and attempting to sneak in. The Israeli army is currently stationing a large number of armored vehicles, tanks and military personnel in the border region, while also continuing to improve its readiness for any potential assault that may take place. However, people are aware that if nations that are predominantly Muslim and Arab support Palestine and countries that are economically and militarily powerful on a global scale, such as Russia and China, join the conflict, it would radically upset the balance of power in the Middle East. Hamas initiated the war with an airstrike on October 7. Israeli troops are continuing their assault on the Gaza Strip, employing both aerial and ground-based tactics. Simultaneously, this conflict is still ongoing. The Israeli government is eager to maintain the positive relationships it worked so hard to maintain with Arab and Muslim nations prior to the conflict. Despite this, Arab and Muslim nations continue to harbor a great deal of resentment toward Israel as a result of the attacks that it has carried out. People are aware that Israel and Iran have been at odds with one another for a considerable amount of time because they are attempting to establish a position of control and supremacy between themselves. The United States of America, which had been Israel's most ardent supporter and played a significant role in all of the conflicts with Iran, had now become hostile toward Iran. If as a result of the battle Muslim and Arab countries were able to create an alliance, and if China and Russia supported this alliance, would it still be possible for Israel to win this war with only the assistance of the United States? Since the beginning of the conflict, he has made statements and assertions that have led people to assume that he could prevail with the assistance of the United States fighting for Israel. On the other hand, this completely alters the trajectory of the battle because a great number of nations all over the world are suddenly supporting Palestine, despite the fact that they had previously stated that they would be against Israel and receive backing from Arab and Muslim nations. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.